All right. Second episode of the season, and we have a returning guest here, Cass. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am not bad. So I know last season, every time I had somebody on, since it was each person was their first time on, I kind of was like, hey, what kind of movies do you like? And then from there, we would talk about the stuff that we were going to talk about. This go around, I want to kind of check in and see what kind of stuff you've maybe seen since the last time we talked. I know of at least one movie because I was there with you.
Yep.
I'm curious to know if you've actually made it to anything else since then.
Yeah.
Oh,
Geez, what else have I made it to? I actually saw that one you saw, the Boy in the
oh,
Huron,
Boy and the Heron. Yeah, yep, yep. Great,
Heron.
great flick.
I don't know what the fuck that movie was about. I thought it was about grief and coping and moving on, but then the pigeons were cannibals or just
Parakeets.
I'm sorry, the
No, you're
parakeets
fine.
were
Yeah.
cannibals or whatever. And I know it's one of those movies that's supposed to make you think and you're supposed to
Mhm.
look deeper. And I'm doing that the whole time. And I'm like, then it just like ended, and I'm like, uh, I I don't know what I was supposed to get out of it. So I'm not super thrilled with it. It was a fun experience and
Mhm.
visually very intriguing, but man, I don't
Mhm.
know what they were trying to say.
So I mean, I kind of agree on the ending part. In the theater that I was into, a lot of us had that moment that a lot of people had, like when Lost ended and it just cut to black. We were kind of just like, wait, that's it? And so I get it, but at the same time, like if you ever watched any Miyazaki movies before, you kind of just have to stop trying to get the movie. You just have to watch it. And
That's hard. That's like my whole
I
thing is
know.
when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, let me get into their head. And some people you can't get into their head.
Trust me, you're here on my movie podcast. I get it. Like
Yeah.
all I do is overthink movies, and then sometimes I just have to turn my brain off and say, nope, this is you're giving them too much credit, or you're holding them, to too much, too high of standards for what it is. And but yeah, good experience, good visuals, and
Yeah.
who I think maybe the message was going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's fair.
that's the best takeaway because that was supposed to be his last movie. And then the day it finished, he started coming back into the office and working on more. And they're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't his last
He's
movie.
like 82 or something, right? Like he's up there. Like good for him.
And he
Like
smokes like a chimney.
that's the Japanese culture, man.
I know, but it still can kill you.
Yeah, it can or it could not.
Yeah, so
Um,
far. Um, the one thing I do remember telling some people about that one in particular was that I wouldn't be upset if that was the end, only because if he started working on something else and then never finished it, and then we just never got what the next thing was supposed to be, I'd be okay if there was a clean break and this that's it. This is
yeah.
we're done. But
I'm curious, based on you saying the kinds of movies where you kind of just have to shut your brains off. Did you watch Skinamarink?
yeah, yeah, I did.
That
Huh.
was I have a challenge for you if you have not done this. I watched Skinamarink and I really tried to like
Mhm,
get something out of it and it was rough. If you are so compelled, you should go. I'll try to find the guy's name for you, but he has a YouTube channel. That's where he started.
mhm,
Watch his short Heck.
mhm,
That is what Skinamarink is originated from,
mhm,
and you can actually kind of tell what they're trying to do. And while it is still a little hard to watch, once
mhm.
you realize what's happening, it the feeling of what is happening in that movie is just it's effective. And I have a feeling when they did Skinamarink, they're like, we're going to take this and expand on it and just make it even more awful. And I think it might
Right.
have actually lost some of the effect, at least for me. But it's short. It's like I want to say it's like 20 to 40 minutes. I forget exactly, but it's a short film. So
I know Skin and Marink wasn't super long either. If if I remembered correctly, I didn't like it.
yeah,
And
I hmm.
I'm a horror person, and I
Yep.
just
I
I
wanted
was.
to love it. I was so thrilled with the thought of like,
Mhm.
oh, kids and they're up in the middle of the night and the door disappears and they're just trying to comfort themselves. That sounded chilling. And the way it played out was hard, but
the
again,
the the POV stuff really hurts me. Like
yeah,
I'm like, this isn't a video game. Like if I wanted that, I would go play a video game.
yeah,
And I
and
just
that's
was
fair.
like, and what's worse is like when I started to read the reviews and everybody else is raving about it, and I'm just like, are you guys raving about it because you liked it or because you saw somebody else rave about it? Because either way, I'm
Yeah.
like, I like over here giving this movie like a star, and all these other people are giving it like 5 stars, and I'm like,
Give
okay,
Heck a watch sometime. Like I said, it's much shorter
yeah,
because I think you will see what they were trying to do with it. And in that case, some of the stuff that was happening actually, I'm not going to say like, oh, I was confoundedly like infected by it, but I was like, oh no, I see what
mhm,
this is and I feel gross. But it's in a well done way. Like it's effective.
yeah.
It's just
Well, what
that
probably
message was
happened
lost in Skinamarink.
Yeah, what probably happened was like because they made it as like a short film originally, like I mean, they were, I'm sure they had some intent behind what they were trying to do, but like they
Mm-hmm.
weren't trying as hard, if that makes sense. And then like
Yeah.
when it came to actually making a full-length motion picture, maybe they overdid it.
I think that's
'Cause
exactly what it is. Like,
so
how
much
can we
stuff,
take
like,
this further, make this worse, and then it
yeah,
loses the effect that it
yeah,
initially had.
so much stuff goes viral because like we don't intend it to, and then when you actually try to like one up the
You can't
viral thing, it
recreate
just,
it.
mm-mm, nope, nope.
I also
Skinner.
saw Godzilla -1, just another one to throw out there.
Nice. What did you think of that one?
I really liked it. It was interesting to see old-timey Japanese culture.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like during the war and stuff like that, and just to see like, oh, they're in their like
Mm-hmm.
leveled cities trying to rebuild, and then
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla fucking comes out, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this
Yeah.
is so much worse.
So would you believe, and I mean, I'm still having a hard time believing it, that that was both CGI and a guy in a suit simultaneously?
That's what I think is the best way. I
Yeah.
think I think you should use practical effects to create your
Hmm.
base and then
Yeah.
use CGI to kind of like build upon it, make it look better.
It worked because I
It
didn't
looked
know that it was
great.
a guy in a suit until somebody told me it was a guy in a suit. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This does not look like a Toho guy in the suit movie. They're like, it was. And I'm like, what?
How did they do
So
that with like the water? Like that's was he like in a pool?
probably. I mean, they used to do that back in the
Oh,
day too.
that's
Yeah.
wild. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
It would just be like it was like Power Rangers, you know what I mean? Like the things like running
Yeah.
around in Zords, and it looks like a big massive field, but it's probably like 5 feet of like stage in a studio somewhere.
Perspective and yeah.
Yeah.
I heard they're
But
gonna release it in black and white. I think that would look kind of cool.
in Japan, I don't know if we're gonna be
Uh,
that lucky.
Maybe we'll get the DVD release. But yeah, seeing that on the big screen like that would be really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot too. We went and saw, they had like a couple of day early showing on that one, and there was like posters and stuff, and all kinds of people were there, and it was fun. Like I like those things.
My
Like
biggest
when, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I was just gonna say my biggest problem with the whole like I know with our Godzilla movies we tried to give him a reason and stuff, but on
Mhm.
the other hand, I wonder like why is he just coming in and like stomping their town? And I guess if you're gonna go primal, it's like, well, it's a territory thing and they're in his territory, and maybe that's what it
Mhm.
is. But that's my only issue where
Mhm.
it's like why? And maybe that's just like an American thing too, where we just have to
Mhm.
like know the answers. And honestly, I don't like answers to
Mhm.
everything. But I
Yeah.
like a little bit of something, like a little bit of a why.
It's funny you say that because I walked out of a movie last night, like after it was done, not like because it was bad walkout. And it was a foreign film, and they for sure they somehow managed to find a way to make like rom-coms like way better than we make them. And it ended ambiguously rather than like being spoon-fed the way most of our rom-coms do, where they like say like 3 months later and you see where they
Yeah.
ended up and whatever. And it just like it ends at a part of the movie that you think there would have been more and there wasn't. And I was just like, you know what, I'm okay with this.
Yeah,
So you're right, it probably is like an American thing to just to need that like spoon feeding a little bit.
it really is. I did like a paper before on like the differences between Japanese and American horror. And that was one of
Hmm.
the biggest things is like a lot of Japanese horror is more ambiguous and you're
Hmm.
kind of led to see things. And with our things, like my favorite example of that is that movie Lights Out. Do you remember that?
Hmm.
That's another example of one that started on YouTube and it was short and concise and it was just lights out, a thing is there. That's it, and that's whatever that is, it is. And then they made the movie and they're like, well, there's this woman and this thing happened to her. And I'm like, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
didn't need that.
It's a tightrope though because there's a good way to do ambiguous, and then there's ways where
Yeah.
you need information because if you don't get it, it's like you just legitimately don't know what's going on. And it's less of like, hey, we're leaving it to your imagination, and more just like bad storytelling.
You know who did that perfectly? The balance between ambiguousness and not.
What?
Magnus Archives.
Mm. Yes,
Magnus
yes.
Protocol
200.
starting this month.
Yes. 200 episodes later.
Excited.
Yes. I also am that thing what you said. Um off from our tangent we go though.
Mm-hmm.
You got a nice like genre smattering this go around.
It's really
Uh
a lot of
it,
different things.
Not that you didn't last time, because I went back and I looked at what you got last time, and I was just like, well, I just she just happens to fall in these weeks with like a little bit of everything. Geez, what was the first one? Night Swim?
That was the first one you sent me. So if
Yeah,
that's where you want to start, that's what I got.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
first
spoopy,
one.
spoopy, and or trying to be spoopy. Spoiler alert. Um, Night Swim. So, what did you think about Night Swim?
First, I want to say, bold of you
Mhm.
to assume I haven't seen it. I actually haven't yet, and I was gonna go last week, but then the storm happened, so I'm probably going this week. So you're lucky. I haven't seen it yet.
You're right. I mean, like I would hope that if you had, you would have told me.
Yeah,
But
that's fair enough. So here's my initial
Mhm.
notes on this, okay?
Yeah.
I have heard mixed things already. I've heard it's a bit disappointing. I'm not going in with high hopes. What I will say, I'm already afraid of dark water. Water
Ooh.
at night or water you can't see into already freaks me out. So there's already an element of bias for me to find this movie a little creepy.
Okay.
Um, Empty pools, also creepy. Um,
Yeah, I guess like in their own way, like why is your pool empty?
yeah. Um, Water parks with dry rides, like water rides that are dry, freaks me out. I don't know why. Because you know what it is?
I need an
Because
example. I need an example for that.
okay.
Like water with dry.
Okay, water slides,
Mm-hmm.
but imagine they're turned off and there's no water running down them. It's down
Oh,
for
okay. So
maintenance or whatever.
you're at water safari and you're trying to go down Kilimanjaro when the water's turned off.
Well, okay, so you're not trying to go down it, but let's say it's turned off because
Okay.
it's not working. They need to do something with it. Knowing that
Okay.
it's dry and that I have been down that with water, it freaks me out because like what if I was in it without water and I was just like
Okay. All right.
it's a
That's a new one.
yeah,
All right.
I have weird dreams about that. But anyways,
No,
that's not
no.
really
No, I'm just trying to reconcile the like I could understand like you've been on it with water and then like being afraid to be on it without water, but you're
well, it
saying
is. No, it is that too.
oh, okay. But
But just
but
knowing that
but
it's
you're also scared of when it's gonna be dry after having been wet at one point.
well, if it's being closed for maintenance or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
right.
It just freaks me out because it's like, oh, I used to go in that with water. Now it's empty and dried up. It's kind of like the same thing with like almost like an abandoned place. Something that was once friendly and welcoming to you is now
Okay.
uninhabitable in in the traditional sense that it was initially.
I guess it's all about context because if I saw that it was being like maintenance, but then like you get the typical like stereotype like plumber with like his like pants hanging down. Like I wouldn't really be scared. I'd more be like like this might be a health code violation, guys.
But isn't it also a little freaky, especially the Kilimanjaro one, the new one, and the other one?
Yeah.
Those have
Hmm.
hydraulics and stuff, so it's like, oh my god, like
Ooh.
because the floor drops out.
Oh, that's
You
lovely.
stand in the pod and then it drops. Those are
I'm
freaky.
I'm afraid of heights, so I mean that would get me.
They're not
Just
the highest ones there, to be fair. I don't think. I
yeah.
think the other ones in the front are.
It doesn't matter. That the inertia is what does it. Like I just have to close my eyes.
Yeah, I mean you should because the water will immediately get into your eyes anyways.
Yeah.
But
But like, they
it's
get like extra tight. Like, is it over yet?
so can you not do roller coasters?
No, I do them. I just close my eyes.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
At least you do them. That's credit.
Yeah.
Half credit.
Yeah.
Well, three-fourths. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's the change from something that was once welcoming to now it's not. So that's a little bit of that. But anyways, I noticed they referenced somebody called Cider. I'm a little worried because I don't like animals dying in movies, but basically
Mm,
all horror movies have that. So um initially from I haven't actually seen this trailer. It was a little bit longer. It's a bit of a
mhm,
typical setup, oh, they haven't
mhm,
used the pool and what's wrong with it? Oh, they're not pool people and obviously it's haunted. I do like the idea of them implementing like liminal spaces, if that's a thing. Like I saw them kind of swimming indefinitely deep, and I don't know if that's just a perspective thing, or if
mhm,
maybe there's an element of like, oh, the pool is actually more limitless than it appears, and that to me is extra freaky. So if
mm.
that's the case, then that's pretty cool.
I mean, that being said, like it kind of harkens back to Magnus Archives a little bit, like and also the name that I dubbed you with. I mean, it would be perfect for you, I guess.
What's the
You
name
know,
you dubbed me with?
the last episode I had you on when I said the featuring, I said featuring Cass the Vast.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I would probably be an avatar of the lonely, but that's a self-inflicted thing. But I do like the vast,
But
even though it freaks me out a lot.
you just said the liminal spaces thing would get you,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's
it
fair.
it may in fact be that, but
I would be taken by several of the fears, if we're being honest here.
mm-mm,
My last comment on it that I wrote down, anyways, is based on the whatever with the father, it looks like there might be some element of possession. I'm not as big as into that. I mean, if
mhm,
it's something like, oh, whatever that spirit thing is, because there's obviously some woman, and maybe she's trying to further her, desires or whatever it is.
mhm,
Not as much my thing, but
mhm.
I'm already interested in this movie. I Blumhouse is hit or miss, but I have more respect for Blumhouse after Five Nights at Freddy's. So, did
Yeah.
you do that on any of yours, by the way?
Five Nights?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had to have people on that hadn't seen it.
yeah, I know. I was just curious. I'll
Um.
have to check that out.
Yeah. So Night Swim was the first Blumhouse movie for the year, and Blumhouse is sort of like, I mean, they have multiple movies every year now, but they've sort of carved out a niche in January, like the way Marvel always takes like the first Friday in May for like a big blockbuster. And like last year they did Megan, and I don't know how you felt about Megan, but I thought Megan was pretty like inventive and new, in terms of like that genre of like Chucky type film rather
That
than
that stuff was cool, except for the stupid dance. That was
the
so
dance. Yeah,
stupid.
the dance was silly, but like the premise as a whole, I was like, because if not, the alternative is you get people bitching like because they'll make another Chucky movie and then they're like, why change Chucky? Why not do something original? And they did. So
Yeah.
and this one like was not as strong a start, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
for the start of the year, like the first like bite into horror. Um I I wouldn't suggest that you don't go see it if you already had plans to go see it. You should still see it, and then like we can circle back, in the
Mm-hmm.
after show and talk about like how you feel. But like to me, horror doesn't need a whole lot of like non-horror stuff going on, and a lot of these, for lack of a better word, like corporate horror movies uh, get bogged down with that, like the setup, the stuff that's going on around the times when the scary things aren't happening, like just like the stuff that's basically filling time. There was a lot of that in this movie. Like I feel like too much, so that like when you got the bits of horror, it just wasn't enough.
I don't mind things like
Mhm.
slow burns where they what I
Right.
what I want to say is like I like when they take time to make you care about the characters. If you like, Friday the 13th and all those
Hmm.
movies, they throw you
Hmm.
in and they're all like sex
Hmm.
and drugs and we're gonna party, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I already don't care if those kids die. But if you
Yeah.
give me a little time to, see what the character's going through,
Hmm.
show me their situation, make me
Hmm.
care about them, then I do care. So I do think there is a proper balance for that to make people
Yeah.
properly, depending on what you're looking for, of course.
Yeah,
You just want
I'm
the
not
gore.
saying that there shouldn't be character development or reasons to anchor to characters, but there's just I don't want to spoil. I mean, once you watch it, I feel like you'll get what I mean. There's just a lot of like I feel like obligatory moments that they add to the movie that they think they need to have, like, oh, we're doing the meet meet the entire neighborhood thing. We're gonna do like extracurricular activities. We're gonna like see them at school. We're gonna do all these things that don't have anything to do with the pool and at nighttime, right?
It did look like there was a lot of like kids
Mhm.
stuff and like, you know,
Yeah. And I mean, the kids do factor heavily into the movie because, they're kids and they want to swim. And there is a cat named Cider. And I don't think that it would be crazy to say that we would be invested in Cider regardless of how much screen time he got. Um, but the scares when they came were good. There's a rationale behind what's going on is going on, and it definitely wasn't one I could guess. Just walking into it like with no previous information. So that's cool, right? It's not going to be like
yeah,
a typical.
you
I
guess the
mean,
ending halfway through or whatever.
right? Like spoil. Well, you might be able to guess the ending, but I just mean like the reason why things are happening isn't like a typical, oh, somebody died in the pool and now they're a
Yeah.
vengeful spirit. Spoiler alert. That's not what happened.
Yeah, that's fine. I do like that they're trying a little
Mhm.
bit harder to make the things not so typical because it gets really exhausting.
It does. It does. And I mean, that's probably why I'm so critical about it because I want them to do better. I
Yeah,
don't want them to fail. But yeah, I think this one I think I gave it a 3. It's right there in the middle of the road. When you get the
yeah,
spooky stuff, it's good, and when you don't, it's
kind of meh.
you know, yeah.
Like I
So
said, prior to Five Nights at Freddy's, I was like, meh, Blumhouse. And then just, I won't go in a whole thing, but the fact that they
whole
worked
thing.
with the creator
Hmm.
of Five Nights at Freddy's and like let him
Hmm.
do a lot of what he wanted to do. And basically, they made that movie mostly catered towards fans. And the fact that they weren't afraid to do that on the chance that just people hated it, you know what I mean? They did what they thought was right by Scott and
Hmm.
fans. And I have such a great respect for that. Like, they might put out
Hmm.
some shit movies and stuff, but they're
Hmm.
not Warner Brothers. I mean, that's who he was originally set up to make the movie with. And they
Hmm.
just couldn't agree on a script. And he's just like, you know what, I can't. And I just,
It was for the best.
yeah, I think they have a lot of potential to do cool things. And I think they're
Hmm.
willing to try different things. It is hard to be a Hollywood horror movie company. Like they're
Hmm.
big. Like we used to have I don't even know the names anymore, but like all the like little companies like that. And then it was like, oh, I've heard of them. Or like A24 is like a
Um,
bigger one, but they're known for being kind of more artsy and whatever. So
yeah. Oh, I mean, we used to have like New Line.
New
Did a
Line,
lot of
yeah,
like,
that was like Nightmare on Elm Street and all that.
yeah,
That was
they
like
did
a
a
big
lot of
one
the
for
like
that.
80s, 90s slashers. What else? We had I mean, Miramax did like the Scream
Screams,
movies.
yeah.
Um,
But that was
yeah,
they
I
weren't
mean,
just horror, I don't think, either of
no, no,
those.
no. They're also
Right.
Miramax was also like pretty
Like, can you
artsy back in the
imagine
day.
like a rom-com coming out by Blumhouse? Like, it's gonna have a horror twist. Like,
That'd
they're
be great.
specifically horror.
Yeah, yeah. I think their next offering too, and I could be totally wrong. It might not even be a Blumhouse. Is that Imaginary,
I think it is
scary movie?
Blumhouse. I think it
Yeah.
is because there was theorizing that it might be the same
Mhm.
universe as Mithrigan.
Ooh,
Hmm.
nice. I'd be okay with that. There's I noticed there might be a trend too. I mean, between that and Megan, and there's another one that I saw a trailer for last night that looks great, called Abigail, which if
I don't
you
think
get a
I've.
chance,
Yeah, I haven't
it,
seen that one yet.
it's a horror movie that comes out in April. Enough said. That's all you need to know.
Okay,
But
that's good.
there, how like horror movies like kind of go in spurts. We had like
They
zombies
do.
for a while. We had
Hmm.
vampires. Now I think for some reason, and I'm not trying to be like lewd or like going any weird place with this, but it's like horror movies that the vehicle for the film are little girls. You know what I mean? Like
Well, because there's
Megan.
that creepy aesthetic, like, oh, like
Yeah.
they're so cute and
Yeah.
sweet, but they're gonna kill
Yeah.
you. That kind
Well,
of
yeah,
thing.
it's not even that they're the killer necessarily, but it's just they're the center of the attention.
It's
So like Megan,
definitely a horror trope, and they're just kind of taking that and
sure.
making that the main focus.
Right, right. I mean, there's a couple right now. I mean, they've come out like within a 12-month span, so it feels like a trend to me, but we'll see if it continues.
It almost seems like a mix of that and maybe like some AI stuff. I feel like that's
Mhm.
becoming more of a theme as well because
Sure.
like
Because that's a
she was like an AI
yeah.
being, and I feel like the idea of like AI
Mhm.
becoming more sentient and capable is kind of a thing too.
Mhm. That's true. I mean, they did say that they're supposed to have a sequel to that, and if anybody watched the movie, you kind of have a sense for how she might return. Um,
Yep.
on the note of evil females, movie two was Mean Girls.
Hmm.
Um, even if you hadn't seen the trailer for this, Mean Girls itself is sort of a cultural phenomena that we're all aware of in some way, shape, or form because it had a predecessor in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
What did you think of this trailer? Be it just the trailer or what about it from prior information.
I'm gonna go on record and say I have actually never seen Mean Girls.
That's
Believe it or
fair.
not.
Yeah, but
Um,
you know that it
I
exists.
do know that it exists, yeah. Um, the first thing I noticed was Pam from The Office. Is she in it?
Well, I'll go on record as saying I've never seen The Office, so I don't know.
Okay. It looks like Pam from The Office is maybe the girl's mother. She kind of looks like her, and when I saw her, I was like, oh, that kind of
Oh yeah, yeah. The glasses and like she's like sort of a like
little
maybe
Auburny.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That might be Pam. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen memes and stuff, but
I know, like you said, the first one came out, what was like early 2000s
it is 2004.
when the original came out. Okay.
Mhm.
So based on, like I said, I know a little bit. There's the Burn Notebook or whatever. It looks like
Mhm.
there's like modern implementations of like our modern world now, because now
Mhm.
we didn't have as much then. Like there was
Mhm.
YouTube and stuff like that, but YouTube wasn't a vehicle for like embarrassing yourself or viral videos and stuff like that. I mean, it was, but it was like Keyboard Cat and Salad
Yeah.
Fingers and stuff. So
Oh, I
it looks
love
like
salad fingers.
I love me some Rusty Spoons, but it looks like they're including other things now. Like
Mhm.
oh TikTok or whatever. So that's an interesting addition to that kind of thing. It
Mhm.
also, I don't know if this was part of the original, but it looks like there might be a musical element to it.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
there seemed to be a lot of dancing. So I don't know if
Mhm.
that's like is it a musical? Is it sort of a musical? Like I don't know. So
So for some context here, before you tell me anything else, the way this train of Mean Girls kind of went was it was a book, then it became a movie, then it became a Broadway musical, and
oh,
then as has been the trend over the last couple of years, they've started adapting Broadway musicals into movies. The part that they don't tell a lot of people is, well, if there was already a movie, is this a remake or is this the adaptation of the musical? I guess this is technically the adaptation of the musical, but the thing is, the musical was the adaptation was
it's an adaptation of an adaptation.
yeah. So like, but yeah, because it is a musical, it's from a musical. Yeah, the whole movie has like songs and dance and stuff. It's a little longer to accommodate the songs. But yes. So you're not crazy in noticing that there is in fact a musical element.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
do
go
you
ahead.
have a sense for what you think the plot is about?
Ooh,
Especially having not seen the original.
yeah. So, and I don't know. So there's a group. I'm assuming are the Mean Girls, and I don't know. Are they the ones that hold the burn book and they just kind of like keep a record of things people do and like oh haha you're going in the book or whatever. And then
That is the auspices of the burn book. Yes. So because you just got burned, kind of remember that like whole thing.
yeah, right.
Yeah. So if I mean, you had to do something like really not heinous, but infamous to land in the burn book, something like really
Sure.
like, worth like being put in there for. Um, but that's can I put it? That is a part of the story, but I wouldn't say that it's the main part of the story.
It looks like there's that group and then it looks like there are people. or a girl at least, or some people who are trying to kind of fight against that. Because I don't know if it was Katie or I don't know. I had subtitles on for some reason. I said like Cady or whatever. I don't know. Whoever that character
Yeah.
is, it was like, oh, she pushed her. And then like, oh, we just made her more famous or we just gave her more power or something. So
Mhm.
I don't know if there's like
Mhm.
groups that are trying to like push against these girls being like that. I don't know. But
Well,
that's
think
just
about it like this, right? I mean, like, it's been a while for both of us, but at the end of the day, it's about like the various different cliques in high school.
mhm.
I mean, every generation gets some kind of movie about this. Um, the kind of twist here is Katie, who mentioned, starts the film in Africa. Her mom's a researcher, and she gets transplanted from basically having to deal with like the wild animals in the actual wild to the allegory of how high school can kind of be like a jungle full of wild animals too. The only difference is,
Juxtaposition.
huh? Yeah.
Juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, she spent her whole life being homeschooled, and in a matter of months is basically, I don't know, a very different person from the experiences that she has in her short time in public school because she very quickly is aligned with the plastics. So these are the
I
whatever
forgot her.
yep. So
Yep.
they're like the
Hmm.
queen bees of the school. They call the shots. They're the best looking, etc. So she actually initially gets befriended by like
Dorky kids.
the outcasts, the Breakfast Club, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. And I say
One's
that affectionately. I was that too. So
sure. One's like the artsy girl. She like she actually like physically like paints and does like really pretty art. And the other one is her like flamboyant gay best friend. And they befriend Katie because she has nobody. And then as soon as they befriend her, like not like knowing that she's made friends with the outcast, the plastics are like, "Oh, hey, you should come sit with us, and you're really pretty. And where are you from? And you're from Africa? No way. You don't look like you're from Africa." And like just all the things that people aren't supposed to say in polite conversation
yeah.
because you either have no social tact or in the case of some of the people in that group, they are very dumb. Like it's laughable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but so it's you get a little bit of everything. They're trying to take down the plastics because they're the worst people. You're trying to make friends because you never had them before. You have a crush on a boy. There's music. There's singing. It's a little bit of everything.
Basically everything you do in high school.
Yeah, I mean, except for choreographed dance numbers, but that's
You
only
didn't do
if
that?
you're. Mm, I
Did
mean,
you
no, I
ever
was
have to do square dancing?
no, no, thank God.
Oh,
I had to do line dancing in grade school for a little bit.
maybe I don't know. I don't know the difference
Mhm.
between line and square, but we had to do that stuff a lot. And I'm always like, am I gonna get aligned with the boy I like? And almost never. I was like
Aw,
two people off or something, and I was like, I was so close.
next time.
Yeah, nope, never.
It's okay. It works out
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, did you did you feel like that was something that you would go see?
I don't know if I would go see it, but
Mhm.
if someone's like, "Oh, I really want to go see it," like I'm not like straight stop no. Like there's most things I would go see if somebody really wanted to, and like it wasn't like a huge thing or whatever. It's
Mhm.
a little intriguing,
Mhm.
I mean, I think about high school a lot at times, and I wasn't. I was kind of in between. Like I had my own group, but like I
Mhm.
could talk to some other people and like whatever, but there's always those like kind of untouchable people. And I definitely was nowhere near being able to talk to those
I,
people. But
I remember your group. They were fun people.
oh, really? You remember my group?
Mhm.
What's my group?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's like safe for like all of YouTube to know. If I should be putting names on blast here.
What are we trying to say? We went to high school together or what?
Didn't we?
No, I
Which
lived
high
in
school did you go to?
Wisconsin.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Who are you mistaking me with?
Nobody. I'm just being silly.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Didn't we know what we didn't?
Wow.
Wisconsin.
Gaslit.
You cheesehead.
No. No foam hats for me. I
Mm,
was in walking distance to the stadium.
yeah, yeah, eh?
Okay, that's the UP. Calm down. The worst things about where I lived was that people said bag instead of bag. They say pop a lot, and they use the word bubbler, which do you even know what a bubbler is? Guess right now. I was in school and they're like, we're gonna take a break, go to the bubbler. What's a bubbler?
Bathroom?
Nope. I was imagining a fountain and bubbles and shit are coming out. Drinking fountain. That's it. It doesn't bubble. It's not sparkling water.
Why does that need to be like a thing that you have to like share in conversation? Like, hey, we're going to the drinking fountain. You just go.
Well, because it was during
But
class.
the
Like
what? Yeah.
we're gonna take a 5 minute break. You can stop to the bubbler, go to the bathroom. It was actually the
No.
teacher saying it as a
Oh,
whole.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna
not like
say
the
like
kids are like, let's go hang out at the bubbler.
that's how it sounded for a second. Then I was just like, really?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it was the cool place to go. If you weren't going to the bubble, you were lame.
right? Lame.
Lame. Yeah, it's me.
So, Mean Girls, in terms of numbers here, I actually gave it a five. Um, I'm a sucker for show tunes. Um, and when the music is catchy and like good, and then like everything else around it just works. And I have seen the original, so I have like something to compare against, and it was better than the original. Which doesn't happen often. It's usually like the original is so good, and yeah.
I feel like that about
So-
Ring. The
Oh
Ring.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you liked the remake more than the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar?
No. What? No,
Wasn't
you're
Sarah
thinking of The
Michelle?
Grudge.
Oh, you're right. I am.
Yeah, that's oh my God, what's her name? Naomi Watts.
Yes.
Yep. I mean
Yeah.
over the like Japanese original, which is still very good. There's something
Ring,
about
Ringu.
Ringu. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's still good. It is still very good, but there's something about that tape that's just chilling to the bone. Our version of that tape and like the lighting, the like green, these blues and the lighthouse and the boat and all that stuff, it just hit home for me. It was just creepy. But yeah,
That
I would
movie got
probably
ruined. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was trying to bring it back. Like I would probably see Mean Girls, even if I just saw it at home.
Yeah. I was gonna say that the ring got ruined for me after um and I'm probably confused. No, actually it had the ring. But I it got ruined for me after I saw Scary Movie 3, I think.
Oh yeah, because they like spoofed on it hard.
Yeah, and then like every time I ever like tried to watch it after that, I kept like expecting there to be silliness, and I'm like, oh wait, this isn't the silly one.
You saw it in the wrong order. I mean, I saw
No, I
that
mean,
movie. Oh, you
yeah,
saw
I
the other one
saw the
first?
I did. I'm just saying, like after the fact, like if I tried to go back and watch it again, I couldn't.
I have to say that's like one of my first favorite movies because like my friends and I were like, oh, let's go see this movie. It's scary. It's a remake of a Japanese movie, and we had just started our like descent into like Japanese culture and media. So we were like,
Mhm.
oh, it's gonna be so interesting, and it blew me away at the time. It was just chilling and like the amount of gore that it had was like I think it's perfect. It's enough because it's like distorted enough where it's like okay that we don't know how it would happen, but it's not like out of the realm of like something could do that. It's not like so ridiculous that you're like, what the
Right, like there's some level of plausibility that you could insert it into our world, and it doesn't feel like it's impossible.
like Magnus Archive. Sorry, it's just that's why I probably liked it so much. Is it's
Mhm.
just close enough where it's
Mm.
like oh it's not like 12 steps away from our reality. It's only like a few based on like the like creeping into our world.
Yeah, I wonder if I get a shout out from Rusty Quill if I start hashtagging them every time.
Every time you finish, we're like the Magnus Archives is a light or share like 4 point whatever that whole thing.
I have to like cut away and then cut back to like me like with my head like solemnly bowed and like saying the thing that Jonathan Sims says at the end of every episode.
Supplemental.
Yes, supplemental. But all right, so Mean Girls, that covers us on that. Our last movie, which I saw last night, also, The Book of Clarence. What did that one do for you?
Oh, so much. Um, I'm gonna go on record and say I'm not a big religion person. So for me,
Mhm,
I'm already kind of checked out. I realize
mhm,
that this is supposed to be, Jesus is
um,
a real person and all
mhm,
that stuff. That's fine. I don't know a lot about him as a person and you know what I know that he performed miracles and I know stuff. I've seen the
So far,
movie.
you haven't really said anything that would disqualify you, like in terms of like thinking that you don't have enough knowledge. Like you're saying like the things that you need to know. So,
Yeah, it's just the premise loses me, I guess. Like if
mm,
it's just okay for me to really like appreciate things, it's hard for
hmm,
me to go back in time too
hmm,
far.
hmm,
Not because like I don't care, but it's sometimes hard for me to like relate with that. And I already can see this is like a movie that takes like modern themes of trying
hmm,
to like find your own way up and try to be your own group and do your own thing and
hmm,
just put it back there. I get that. And then
hmm.
they're kind of implementing in some of the I don't know. I don't want to say it's just religion because it's beyond that. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be historical or whatever, but that stuff is just decidedly less interesting to me in general. Um,
Okay.
I see that there's some like they're trying to maybe imitate miracles to like get people to believe them. Maybe they can hustle, make a little money off of that.
Hmm.
It looks comedic, but it also doesn't. Like it also looks kind of serious.
Hmm.
It was weird to see James McAvoy in it. I really like him like a lot,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
was like,
Benedict Cumberbatch is in it too, which I don't
is
think
he?
they don't show him in the trailer.
Yeah. Um, those are most of my notes. The rest is just kind of whatever you ask or like whatever. But it wouldn't be like a hard no, but I certainly would never think like, man, that's what I gotta go do today. And I don't know.
So yeah, that's so. I mean, like to sort of dispel some thoughts on this right from the jump here. I spent some time over the last like year seeing some movies that I would arguably call religious movies, like some that like some I knew what I was getting into, and some I got hoodwinked on. Like they like for lack of a better term, I'd call them like religious propaganda because they entice you with like plots, and then when you get in there, you find out that they're like it's all religious based, and you're like, fudge, they got me.
like what?
Uh,
Is there one that you remember that was like that?
there's a couple. Yeah, I mean, I saw one called The Shift, which was like this cool it had like a multiversal sci-fi premise of like this guy who like loses his lady, and he gets offered like the opportunity to like try to like surf the multiverse and like find another world where you could like be with her. And it had like big names. It had like Sean Astin. It had this other guy that I like who always plays Neil McDonough. It
Okay.
had a couple big names. And then it turns out that it's all supposed to be the Book of Job, which is like a major biblical story. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah. So and then I walked out of that going like, just tell me this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't lie to me.
Maybe that's their twist.
It's not a
They M.
twist.
Shyamalan do. They're like, what a twist. It's religious.
It's marketing. They
Yeah.
know full well if they had said it, people like me wouldn't have gone. And at the end of
They
the
got
day,
your money.
why
Well,
do
they
we?
got movie passes money, which is still kind
Yeah,
of your money.
they still got paid. That's what counts.
Yeah, you're right, right, right.
Yeah, for them anyway. But that's the thing, right? The point of the movie for most businesses is to make a buck. So if they get use deceptive tactics to get me in the door,
That's
oh
worse,
well.
yeah. Like if
Yeah.
you're I mean,
Mhm.
and like you're saying with this isn't necessarily like full-blown religion. It's just got
Yeah.
some themes of that, which is fine,
Yeah.
but they're not hiding that.
Right,
It's
right.
right
They're
out in the
upfront
open.
about exactly what's going on, and you kind of hit it on the head. It's more. I don't want to call it historical fiction because I feel like that's insensitive to actual religious people who believe this happened because I can't definitively say it didn't. But you know, what I would say is that it looks at it more from a historical angle,
Uh-huh.
because it's like your average person kind of has the same thought in the matter. They see, unless they're experiencing one of Jesus's miracles, they're skeptical. They're like, well, I don't think he's the Messiah. They're like, I think he's a peddler, and I want to be just like him. The main character says, and they do start using his tactics. Well, what they believe to be like his tactics to kind of trick people into getting money and things. And then um there's the comedy angle to it, but there's also a serious angle. It's almost like be like if like Bruce Almighty was combined with like the Passion of the Christ, because there's some
Oh
really like
no.
there's some real serious stuff towards the end, like crucifixion stuff and getting whipped
Jeez.
and beaten, and it's like you just keep like I was just like, all right, we could stop now. Like I get it. You just nailed him to a cross and
I
you
had to
showed it to me.
watch Passion of the Christ in college in Japan, and it literally made me nauseous. It was
It's
so
yeah,
brutal.
yeah, that movie's pretty like yeah. But
The only thing I'll say is,
mhm,
I don't, obviously all I saw was a trailer. There
mhm,
was some scene where somebody like put their hand up and rock stopped in the air. So
yes.
unless there's some trick to that, they are saying definitively that there is some sort of a person who can do those things, which again for me would be a little hard because
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't believe in
So
miracles or whatever.
right.
So
Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, it's there's a heavy focus on the idea of belief. Actually, they spend a lot of the movie going back and forth between the dichotomy of belief and knowledge. So Clarence, when he starts pretending to be a messiah and preaching, he's like, knowledge is stronger than belief. He's like, belief tells you nothing specifically. Knowledge tells you exactly what you know. And they clash back and forth. Like, Jesus's apostles, like Jesus never like goes up to Clarence and says, "Hey, you're a bullshitter," and like you stop what you're doing. But his apostles do. So, and that's like a strong thing that some of these people have to overcome for the sake of the movie, because at certain points stuff happens and they can't explain it. Although Clarence has a very like great look on it. He's like, somebody asks him at one point after something happens, they're like, "Oh, well, you believe now, right?" He's like, "No, I know because I saw it happen."
yeah. That's a
So,
clever way to work that in. I'm sure it's a
yeah.
good movie, and I'm sure it
Mhm.
works those themes in
Mhm.
there well.
Yeah.
I just don't know that. Like, if I saw it, I'd probably end it and be like, "Oh, that was a well done movie," but I wouldn't necessarily think, "Oh, that was for me or someone like me."
Right, right. And I mean, like, there's other stuff too. Like, it's the director for that also composed all the music, or at least some amount of it. So like he, man, like you really got to choose your words these days. I don't want to say that he has an agenda, but he definitely has a strong perspective that is not hard to figure out when the cast is predominantly black.
Hmm.
Um, in a time and a place where I don't know that you could get everybody in the world to agree that Jesus and his apostles were all black,
Yeah.
but I mean, arguably, some people would tell you that he for sure was darker skinned.
Yeah.
Like the fair complexion doesn't really match the part of the world that they were.
Right. Yeah. Even if you were fair to begin with, you wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you would. That's why
Mhm.
people living in those areas are that way because their skin has kind of evolved and adapted
Mhm.
to live in those places.
Yeah. I will say that it had beautiful cinematography, and what I mean by that is just like, for lack of a better term, when you watch certain things and they angle it just the right way or they show it just the right way, you feel like you're right there in the moment as it's happening. And I don't see that very often anymore. I think a lot of Hollywood creatives are complacent. So
Oh
there's
yeah.
like moments in like there's like a chariot scene at one point, and it's just like every camera angle just gets it just right, to getting like on the rails, like trying to like ride your chariot to the like the second you fall off, and it's just like you for a second I felt like I had fallen back at the same time as the guy on the chariot. I was like, wow, that was well shot.
Yeah.
So
And there's a lot
just
to be said for things like cinematography. I mean, a lot of people watch movies and they don't really realize like what they're
mhm,
watching is like. an art form itself, the way that a scene is formulated and the angles, and there's a lot
Mhm.
of choices to do there.
Yeah, but all right, so that's one that wouldn't necessarily, it's not a hard no, but it's not like I'm running to go see it movie. I will say that also this one, like, just the sum of its parts, I gave this one a 5 also. I think
Mhm.
it's very well done. If you're any kind of like movie buff of like things from the past, I don't know if you've ever seen from what you're saying like about religious stuff, I'm gonna guess no, but feel free to prove me wrong. Have you ever seen the Ten Commandments? Very
I
old
don't think
movie.
so, no.
So they go out of their way to like set up the credits and some of the shots and things to look very similar to that. And I'm positive it was an intentional thing, like they were like homaging it, kind of,
It
and
definitely
the
seems
ten.
like they put a lot of thought into everything they did with it, rather than
Mhm.
just being like, oh, let's just do a movie
Yeah,
about Jesus in that time. It seems like there was a lot more love
yeah,
and care there.
yeah. I'm sure the director had the same kind of thought behind it as like some of the things I've said, where you can't really do a movie like that willy nilly. You would offend a lot of people. I'm sure there's still going to be people that'll be offended by it, but that's their own personal hangups, I think.
There's nothing you can make this somebody won't be offended by.
Um, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of something, but I can't.
It's, yeah. It doesn't
Um,
matter how ridiculous, somebody will find something to be offended by.
Peppa Pig?
You could hate pigs.
I don't though. I mean, I gave up a religion
You
for pig.
fair.
Well, is there anything on your movie horizon?
Um, well, I mean, eventually more Five Nights at Freddy movies. As far as like
Let's
the
think. I was gonna say, let's think more definitive. I mean, I know
oh, the
they
second one
did.
is already beginning, so chillax. It is
I know they've.
definitive.
All right, let me. Definitive to me means like we got a date in the
A
on
date,
the
yeah.
calendar.
You know, I don't know when this is coming out. I
Mhm.
think there are dates out there, but they're supposedly gonna do another Silent Hill movie.
Okay, I mean, I wouldn't say no to just like a reset button on that, but
I think what this one is going to be is based on the second game, which had no. Okay, have you played Silent Hill?
yeah,
Okay, so you know that one and three are connected, and two is kind of standalone.
it's kind of standoffish.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I think the movie is going to be it's standalone in its own way. Then it's its own story. I mean, most of these take place in Silent Hill. Sometimes there's some like outer areas or whatever within the games, but
Hmm.
I don't think you need to carry over anything into that other than Pyramid Head. But this is because this is where he was supposed to be the whole time.
Okay.
This is the only story he belongs in. Like
Mm.
one and three made no sense. There is a character in three that they could have used, but Pyramid Head's the one that everyone knows, and he looks so cool, but he doesn't just go around ripping skin off a lady, so that it just upsetting. But anyways, I
Yeah.
do think that is actually maybe this year.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a like I don't know. It's one of those things people keep talking about. I think it's out there, but I don't know when.
In the meantime, we have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and part two
Um,
in March.
I didn't even see the first one.
Oh, it's so bad, but you still gotta watch
I
it.
know, that's what I heard. I heard it's so bad, but you still exactly that.
It-
You have to see
It's
it.
it's Z-list horror. It's just don't expect anything good and just like laugh at all the ridiculousness.
I yeah, I'll check it out. I
Spoiler alert: Piglet is a boar.
yeah, of course. Of course they have to take everything and make it worse.
Mm.
I don't know what is coming out. I'm a big horror person, so obviously like Imaginary is something I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um Mostly I find out about it by going to the movies and just seeing like what's coming out, or
Mm-hmm.
Facebook's not really a great place for that unless people are talking about it. Like, oh, this movie's
Hmm.
coming out, I want to see it, whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't have anything major other than Silent Hill and FNAF, but
I mean,
I fill it in as the time goes by, like when I see like what's coming out,
FNAF.
I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get excited for a lot of movies, but man, that
Mm-hmm.
it okay, I don't think I told you this, but I went to see it again on
Oh,
Halloween. My mom and
Fanatic.
my brother wanted to go see. Yep.
Oh, good.
That experience was not nearly as good because you had the people that were talking the whole time and people who were just like, I don't know, being scared at parts that weren't, that whole thing. And that experience of seeing it with everyone there who wanted to see it and like reacting in unison with everyone else in that theater was just phenomenal.
Hmm.
Um, just a little side note, the guy that was playing the waiter at the diner that I was like, oh, I know who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, he's been doing YouTube for 13 years, and as of March, he's going to step away from his channels and kind of appoint new people for those. I'm
Hmm.
actually pretty devastated about it, but I'm happy for him to kind of move on and do his own thing. He's got some other things he wants to get into, and he's going to stick around behind the scenes. And there's another live channel he does, but man, what a way to go out! You get to be in like the movie that you know, helped lore theorize for years, and then you're just like, all right, that's
Peace
it.
out.
Yeah, so that's been rough, but yeah, that was a long tangent to answer your question. I'm sorry.
Hmm. No, I mean that's good. I mean that's what I want. I don't want basic like this. Bye. But
Do you get that?
no, usually it's like straight up I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Mm. So before I let you go,
Mhm.
I just noticed and I mean feel free to correct me. Your display name for the Zoom is Kasan or is it like Kasan?
Yep, Kasan. Good job.
So your mommy?
No, that's Kasan. That's two A's. You should
Oh,
know this. You want to know why? Here's
I'm not
here's
that kind of Asian.
here's your logic, okay?
Hmm.
When I write my name in Japanese, because obviously there's characters, whatever, I have to
Yeah.
go ka sa n do ra.
Hmm.
So it just made sense when I went there. Like, how am I going to shorten my name? Because people aren't going
Hmm.
to want to say that every time. So some people called me Ka, and then Ka-san was just one. But then my teacher always like laughed because she's like, "Oh, Kosan-san," and I'm like, "God damn it!" But I'm like, "Oh well, it's kind of catchy, I guess. So why not?"
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. But
All right.
no, it's mom is Kaasan. So I am, and as we know, in Japanese, syllables matter. So,
They do.
but whatever shoe fits, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. The not mommy shoe is what fits.
I'm certainly not mommy.
It's been
Yeah,
fun.
I'm like 3 or 4 feet off from being mommy. That's
But
a lot of that stemmed from like Lady Dimitrescu from
oh my God,
Resident Evil because she's like
that's
9 feet tall or
I.
something.
I mean, I didn't even tee you up for that at all. You just went there all on
Well, you
your
looked
own.
up, so I was like, oh, the big, you know, bazonga woman.
Go
She's
smack
got
that
some
woman.
big badonka honkaroos.
Got big everything because she's 9 feet tall. It just comes with the
Well,
territory.
people are like, well, we're not going to be scared of that. It didn't step on me, and I was there with them. I'm like, yeah, she could probably step on me. That'd be okay.
Sure, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I liked it even better when they added third person.
yeah. It's a little bit easier for me.
I, I'm just spoiled ever since Resident Evil 4.
Was that behind the shoulder?
Yeah, third person over the shoulder.
Yeah. I'm not good with the first person. I'm getting better with it on my computer, but like
Mhm.
with a
Yeah.
controller, forget it.
Mm. Oh, is there anything you want to plug before I let you go?
Um, I can. I you swimming.
Mhm.
I have a couple channels that I do. I do Twitch, so
Mhm.
I like to stream various games. Some of them are Five Nights at Freddy's, but they're not all Five Nights at Freddy's. So that's Kill Kasan on Twitch, and then I also
Mhm.
have a YouTube where I take those videos and edit them down, compile them into shorter videos. Same
Mhm.
thing. I can provide the links if you want, if that's easier. But Kill Kasan is my handle for those.
Links will be in the description, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
It's been fun, and we'll be doing this again sometime in the next. As I check my not watch because it's on the charger.
You couldn't have drawn one on for that bit.
Oh, I should have. I've
I
got a
think
pen right
Patrick
here and
did that
everything.
once.
No, this is Patrick.
What time is it? Spills his bubbles.
Yeah. But yeah, so as a part of our new rotating returning rotation format, uh I'll probably see you back on here sometime in the next 3 months.
It's like a sushi
Yeah.
go around.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. Except for your not raw fish.
It's debatable.
I'm ready.
Well, thanks for
All
having
right.
me on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Been fun, guys. We'll catch you on the next Movies and Minutes. I've been Nabil Khan. Bye bye.